When Cowboy legends start talking about this being the most juice they've seen on the team in years, it is our part to now start chugging copious amounts of orange Kool-Aid.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for swinging on through to make this your first listen. Today, we get to jump right into the conversation of arguably the greatest quarterback in Oklahoma State history, talking in front of the team, saying this is the most juice he's seen out of this team in years. It's hard not to get excited. And we also had a late 60s legend, Terry Brown, talk to the team as well. The first Oklahoma native to score a Super Bowl touchdown for the Vikings back in the day. To have these convergence of errors, talk about what it's like to play at Oklahoma State and to see the evolution of the program from the 60s to the Brandon Weeden era, the Mike Gundy era, to what it is now and what the expectations are supposed to be. To have guys like this to come out on your field and talk to your players, of course, they're going to be kind, they're going to be polite, they're going to talk fairly glowingly about the potential of what it's like to be at Oklahoma State, but to specifically point out that this defense and this team is bringing more juice to the facilities than he's seen in years, it says a ton, because I don't think that there's a lot of people that have been as close to the program as Brandon Weeden over the years. Just his ability to understand what the offense at Oklahoma State used to be. He was the guy that kind of, helped set that pedestal. Zach Robinson kind of lifted it up, but Brandon Weeden's the dude that made the Big 12 title happen, which is why I said arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Mason Rudolph has an argument here as well, but I think that is the beauty of this. So we've talked about on the show multiple times. We all would like to see more. Brandon Weeden, Mason Rudolph, Dez Bryant, Thurman Thomas, Barry Sanders, Tatum Bell. We would like to see more of these dudes involved with Oklahoma State football program. Whenever you're a running back and you know that Oklahoma State has a rich tradition in running back history, if you were to see the Jalen Warrens and the Chuba Hubbards and the Justice Hills and the Ollie Gordons coming to the facilities and telling them not only what it's like to be a Cowboy, to be part of the Cowboy culture, to play for Big 12 titles, but also to put yourself in a position to get to the NFL, because at the end of the day, that's what all of this is about. It's a big season for Eric Morris. If he can take Drew Mestemaker, the guy who didn't start a single game at quarterback in high school, and turning it into a potential top 10 overall pick, I think that would be a solidification for recruits out there and portal guys to say, all right, Eric Morris is that dude. He has a very good lineage that he comes from, especially from the offensive side of the ball. And for Brandon Weeden to come out here and see guys like Drew Mestemaker spin the ball and see the wide receiver core get after it and see this defense bring the juice, even if there's a little bit of a talent gap between maybe us and a Texas Tech or a BYU to some degree, to hear that the legends are excited about what this season could potentially be, I think should allow anybody that was on that, well, if we just go 6-6, that's okay kind of ledge. It's okay to pump up the volume. It's okay to push the orange and black success from sea to shining sea, because this season should be that. This should be the year that we're all over the ESPN top 10 Sports Center kind of moments. When you have this level of offense, now to continuously hear that there's some defensive surprises that are going to be in store for Big 12 teams, it's an opportunity, I think, for all of us to get off of the 6-6 fence, right? 7-5, it's acceptable. It's definitely okay after what we've experienced recently. But this team is good enough, at least offensively, to win 8 games. If this defense can chip in magical ways, this is a team that can compete for a Big 12 title. And to talk a little bit more about what Brandon Weeden and Terry had to say, Brandon said, I'll tell you what, I love the juice, man. I love the juice. Defense, I haven't seen that kind of juice around here in a few years. I love to see it. The offense, same deal. This is what it's all about. You're going to look back 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now and be like, daggum, I wish I could go back and do it again. It goes fast, fellas. It goes so fast. Enjoy the time with your buddies. When you guys get done here, I was just talking to somebody earlier. I think it was Coach Greg Richmond. He said, we haven't had a team that's been this close offensively, defensively, special teams. Everybody's on the same page. Everyone's looking out for the ultimate goal. Let's go win a championship. Whatever that championship may be, but let's go win one, right? Whether it be a Big 12 title, CFP kind of conversation. I greatly appreciate what he's saying here. He continues, if you get this place rocking, Boone Pickens Stadium, you get that juice in here, you're going to love playing at Oklahoma State. I promise you, we won 12 games my senior year, and it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, he went on to talk about how cohesive this team is and how much of a unit is visible out on the football field. And, Terry Brown was talking about back in the day when Highway 51 was barely just a two-way paved road, and to now see where Oklahoma State is, it's incredible. He went on to say, you guys can show this whole country what you got. Just keep that unity that you have. That's so important in teamwork. Keep that feeling of liking each other and liking to do the work with each other to get the job done. Obviously, everybody knows about Brandon Weeden, almost 10,000 yards, the Big 12 title, the Fiesta Bowl shootout W over Andrew Luck. But Terry Brown, back in the day, had almost over 1,100 yards receiving in a time where throwing the football, to my recollection, wasn't the strong suit of most teams. And by the way, his 1,100 yards receiving was after already having almost 60 tackles and like 5 or 6 interceptions on the defensive side of the ball. And then again, he's the first Oklahoma native to score a Super Bowl touchdown with the Vikings a few years later, played in a few different Super Bowls, a lot of success. But the beauty for him is back in the day, he could have never likely foreseen where Oklahoma State would be now, where Boone Pickens would be now. Right? Lewis Field was, a new idea constructionally to some degree back then. And then it was the Rust-Oleum Stadium for quite some time. So to see where Oklahoma State is now and to have an understanding for these guys to get that connection, that could be a potential missing piece. And yes, I have yelled into this microphone till the cows come home about wanting to see more of those Des Bryant chest bumping Mike Gundy on the sideline winning Bedlam kind of moments, because we have the dudes to do it. I think, again, having the Terry Brown and Brandon Weeden old school connection was pivotal for these guys to see that this is a special place. This can be a special team. This defense is going to be the guiding light. Again, I think the offense is good enough to do their thing regardless of the competition. But if the defense can just have above average moments where they do create turnovers and havoc, this could be a special season. And to have somebody that's not only done it at Oklahoma State in the Big 12, he knows what it takes for a school like Oklahoma State to go win a Big 12 championship and to put themselves in a BCS or CFP kind of scenario. He also knows what it takes to do it at the NFL level. So I firmly believe that as Oklahoma State fans, if you've got buddies on the fence, maybe this is the time to say, hey, if Brandon Weeden and Terry Brown are on the train, it's time we all jump in feet first and say that, yeah, it's okay for all of us to hope, wish, and dream for 8 wins. It's okay to look at this defense and say, you know what? They're the X factor. They could potentially tip the scales enough to get Oklahoma State back into at least the conversation for Big 12 championship. And what I mean by that is, if you get to the last 3-4 weeks of the regular season and you're in the hunt after what we've gone through the last couple years, again, it's impossible not to get insanely excited and just go ahead and start not only chugging, but disseminating as much orange, hopium, Kool-Aid as physically possible. Speaking of getting the best things physically possible, you got to get rocking and rolling with the game today. You know, I'm a big hat guy, so this is near and dear to my heart. Since 1986, the game has been creating classic college hats that fans are proud to wear. Whether you're an alumnus, current student, season ticket holder, or simply somebody who just never misses a game, a great college hat is more than just apparel. It's a way to represent your school wherever you go. This year, the game is celebrating its 40th anniversary by giving fans a chance to save on some of their most iconic college hats. If you've been thinking about replacing an old favorite or adding a new one to your collection, now is the perfect time. Whenever, you're just simply trying to get yourself prepared for the game day atmosphere, the fit is important. And the hat is the best way for you to show your team pride every single place you go. Whether you're going to an event, a venue, or a game, you got to be rocking with the game to show the best pride of anyone out there supporting their squads. With hundreds of officially licensed college hats to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit for game day and every day. Don't miss this chance to celebrate 40 years of the game with 40% off your entire order. Visit thegamecaps.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, one word, at checkout. That is thegamecaps.com, promo code LOCKEDON, one word. Celebrate 40 years of the game with 40% off. But don't wait, because obviously, it being an anniversary, this offer is not going to last forever. All right, we're stumbling, mumbling, fumbling our words into segment 2 here. And, I don't necessarily, it's not a trap game, right? I'm not going to go that far. I do think Tulsa is going to be improved. I just don't think they're going to be improved enough to be ultra competitive with Oklahoma State this upcoming season. Let's not forget that they barely beat one of the worst teams in the last 20 some odd years for Oklahoma State. So even if they are massively improved, we should be a little bit too much. But the biggest conversational piece, I would say, is the concern about offensive line depth. As Eric Morse just recently talked about, the projected starting left tackle, Brandon Weeden Nelson, is still having a little bit of a lingering injury problem. It doesn't necessarily appear to be a major ordeal, but again, it's just kind of one of those little lingering injuries that isn't quite healing as fast as they would like it to, and there's no need to rush him along. Him kind of opening that 5-for-5 door conversation was slightly perplexing, because he also talked about how he still could play in the first couple weeks of the season. So it's a week-to-week touch-and-go kind of scenario. Regardless, whether we have Brayden Nelson to kick the season off against Tulsa or not, one of the biggest potential fears, I think, would be for all of us is if that offensive line, with maybe a backup or two in there, actually outperformed what the expectations were coming into the game. If Oklahoma State were to go in that game and have multiple 100-yard rushers, and the offensive line is creating enough holes that we're opening up 6.1 yards per carry, if something like that were to happen, of course, that would be masterful for that offensive line and the potential pieces moving forward. But could it be fool's gold? Could it give Oklahoma State fans and the offensive line, to some degree, a little bit of false hope? Because the Oregon game is going to be problematic. I mean, let's be realistic. If we had some of the best offensive, if we brought Tevin Jenkins back for one football game against Oregon, he would have his hands full. Like, that defensive line is loaded with NFL dudes. Like, we probably got, I would say, potentially 5-6 NFL level guys on the offensive side of the ball alone, but they probably have 5 or 6 defensive linemen that are NFL draft worthy alone. Like, for us, you've got Mestamaker, you've got Hawkins, you've got Young. I think Boat could be in that conversation. Chris Barnes could be in that conversation. If Donald Green has a massive year, he could be in that conversation. Somebody like a Brayden Nelson or a Tyler Mercer, perhaps, like, could be a sneaky late conversational piece for the draft. But that's a tall task. And on the other side of that equation, though, if somehow, some way, that offensive line, with or without Brayden Nelson, is able to hold up against what is undoubtedly going to be the best defensive line we face all year by quite a bit, unless we do have one of these bringing the juice, ripping the zip kind of seasons, and we get to have a CFP opportunity, that Oregon defensive line is probably the best we'll face all year. And even if we were to get to a CFP moment, I don't know that we would face a better defensive line than what we're going to see at Oregon. There is no drop-offs. Probably the only team in the country, or maybe one or two-ish, 3 maybe teams in the country that their backup defensive linemen will have almost zero drop-off whatsoever. Like, I think even Oklahoma State's defensive line is going to have enough depth and enough talent to keep a lot of teams honest, to get enough pressure to let the back end get those turnovers and get those takeaways and be that kind of quintessential bend but don't break style of defense. Even with all of the depth that we potentially have, it's going to pale in comparison to what we see against Oregon. But what a big moment for this offensive line. Because again, if they do answer that call and they are able to hold their own against Oregon, it's not going to look like Tulsa. We're probably not going to be having a 100-yard running back, 200-yard, or another 100-yard running back conversation, 6 yards per carry. Definitely not likely. But what a moment for all of these offensive linemen. Like, that's the kind of reason you come to Oklahoma State. You're not necessarily supposed to care about the games that are on the schedule. It's all about the opportunity, the right fit, the right scheme, so on and so forth. But you also have to kind of look at the schedule, right? When it comes down to, I think I'm about to pick Oklahoma State, I'm going to look at the schedule. And if I'm an offensive lineman, that game is circled. If I'm a Jacob Sexton with almost 1,000 snaps at OU, but a couple injuries along the way, is this not the biggest stage ever to show out? So the Tulsa game, it could be a little bit of fool's gold if that offensive line performs masterfully with what is likely to be a little bit of an upgraded defensive line group, including a former Cowboy, Kyron Duhan, on the other side of the ball. But not a lot of people are talking about the other side of the equation, which is, what if somehow, some way, this offensive line, this ragtag group of dudes that have been brought together with a few North Texas guys and a few former North Texas guys that bounced around to places like KU, what if all of those guys linked together with the Jacob Sextons, with the Ashton Lepos, who got to play a healthy amount of legitimate Big Ten football? Why would anybody not look at that Oregon game and say, I'm going to send a message, I'm going to prove a point? Because everyone's just talking about how scary the injuries could be on this O-line and how potentially disastrous the lack of depth could be on this offensive line. All true. But maybe none of us are talking enough about this misfits, this group of misfits, as this team is called, which I think is pretty cool. Because, yeah, you do got some guys like Mo Horn that were highly rated previously. And Donovan Green, ridiculously heavily recruited. Markeith Williams. When you have some of these guys that were consensus 4-star, 5-star dudes at one point in time that have been somewhat overlooked, this is their moment. And I think, again, you do have to factor tight ends into this equation as well. That's another reason why this offensive line group could be a little bit better than advertised. It could be a little bit better than we think coming into it, because the tight ends are going to be able to chip and add a little bit of an extra layer of protection to give these offensive linemen a little bit more time. And if it looks remotely decent, maneuverable, functional against Oregon, then the expectations on the season absolutely change. And the outlook on what 2027 could be in recruiting also, I think, fairly dramatically changes. The bee's knees for all of your betting needs is, of course, back in action with baseball season here. It's a perfect time for all of us to get in on the daily action. There's going to be home runs on a daily basis, and FanDuel is now giving a free opportunity to call your shot with daily dingers. It's super easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think is going to hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bat for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make your free pick every day throughout the Major League season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with everyday games. Whether you're following your favorite team or you're keeping an eye on matchups all across the league, every game has potential massive moment to see a long ball. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before the very first pitch. For me, it's pretty simplistic. I check out whether it's going to be in Christian Encarnacion. Did you see Donnie Walton? Donnie Walton had a massive bomb the other day. The fact that he continues to just have opportunities in the major leagues, it's huge for Oklahoma State. So whether it be Christian Encarnacion Strand or Zach Earhart or Donnie Walton or Jackson Holiday, get in on the action. Predict the Cowboy that is going to get the next daily dinger. So if you're ready to play your game, join all the action at FanDuel.com. Head on over to FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's going to hit a bomb today. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Major League Baseball. All right, last but not least, is it almost fair to give thanks to Texas Tech? Yeah, no. Calm down. Texas Tech did win the Big 12 title last year. A lot of people said it's because they bought their way to the title. Well, in the NIL era, not only do you have to spend the money, but you also have to get the right dudes that can make good use of the money. It's almost undeniable to say that Texas Tech has been able to do that, especially this previous season. And so when you have some of these Oklahoma State players that had a lot of opportunities at Texas Tech, but maybe weren't necessarily mainstays, it still should be big for Oklahoma State. So could the Texas Tech system that developed their Big 12 championship team this previous season, could that not be massively beneficial for Oklahoma State? And it's not just players, right? But specifically Braylon Rigsby, coming over a defensive lineman, played a lot for Texas Tech, but he was never going to be one of the top guys. Well, when they had multiple draft picks on the defensive line, he's even come out and said, being able to learn from the guys on Texas Tech's defensive line last year that are NFL guys like Romello Height, it should show off for Oklahoma State, right? We can be greedy. He gets to learn with people like David Bailey and big body beast Lee Hunter. And his conversation about how those guys taught me a crap ton. So I don't regret anything that ever happened in Lubbock because I was able to absorb all of this information and all of these technical aspects from guys that were doing it at the top of the game and guys that are now top-notch prospects to make big moves in the NFL. And Mo Horn, another one of these guys that can play every spot. He can play both cornerback positions. He can play nickel. He can play dime. He can be in blitz packages. He can play special teams. Like Mo Horn is a jack of all trades that I think is just bound and determined to take everything that he was able to learn at Texas Tech and now finally utilize it at Oklahoma State. And of course, Eric Morris, the Texas Tech Red Raider. We got to be appreciative for Texas Tech and Mike Leach for kind of creating this tree, while we also have to be appreciative of the fact that while Eric Morris was learning all this, he realized that having the best offense in the country doesn't mean a hill of beans if you can't win trophies. So instead of averaging 75 yards a game on the ground, he said, oh, crap, we got to average at least 150 on the ground, 125 or whatever the case may be, because those are the teams that were winning the trophies. All of that started from Texas Tech, not only in his playing days, but his evolution through coaching as well. We've got Michael Gwynn, assistant defensive line coach, who is on Texas Tech staffs. Skylar Cassidy was on Texas Tech staffs. They have a lot of these Lubbock connections. And at the end of the day, instead of throwing shade or saying that we got a couple of their leftover players, I view it the other way. I view it as they did spend a crap ton of money. They also spent a crap ton of money in different levels of coaches and strength and conditioning and pliability, dexterity, speed, all of that. They've spent a ton of money investing into their football program. And now we get a couple guys and we get a few players that have seen the best parts of Texas Tech. They've also seen some of the down parts of Texas Tech. I think we should be almost thankful that they've learned some of their stumbling block moments through their time in Lubbock. And they've also learned how you can turn a ship around. They also learn how you do have to shake more hands, kiss more babies, get more NIL dollars. And when you do that, you get players like Drew Mestemaker that want to come back, and Caleb Hawkins and Wyatt Young. It's only a matter of time before we get to have this epic matchup against Texas Tech towards the end of the season. But there's just so much commonality, I think, between the coaching staffs, and there's so many connections that it's hard to see a ton of bad blood, but you never know. At the end of the day, I think I can say thanks to some degree to Texas Tech. No need to poo-poo on them. If we got two guys that understand their system, understand Big 12 ball, understand what it's like to be at this level, and they got the top development that a lot of the Tech players got last year, yeah, cool. Bring it on. I love all of it. All righty, y'all. That's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it, dislike it. If you didn't, that's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast and people out there, you're everything that makes this work. You know the drill. I appreciate what you do. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. All righty, y'all. Later, taters.